Hello there, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the Thames Valley. Raw sewage in the River Thames is putting rowers and swimmers at risk. A sporting legend joins calls for water companies to clean up their act weeks before the Henley Regatta.
As a town, I can collectively say that we've had enough and we're looking for action now.
Reading celebrates the Windrush generation, the trailblazers who helped rebuild post-war Britain, why their stories must live on.
Also tonight, it's all eyes on Berlin as athletes from across the region get set for the Special Olympics, the biggest event of its kind.
And they're off. And 300 years of racing history, the horses and the hats ahead of Ascot. How it all began with a royal wish. Good evening. Olympic gold medalist Sir Steve Redgrave has added his support to a campaign to clean up the River Thames.
Thames Water says it's investing in its sewage treatment works. But ahead of the Henley Regatta, Sir Steve and organisers of the annual event are urging the company to stop sewage being discharged into the water, which could put rowers and swimmers at risk. Charlotte Britt-Edney has been looking at the issue.
From waterfront cafes and daily boat tours to the famous regatta, the Thames is Henley's lifeblood, and the town has become a key battleground in the fight against sewage pollution.
The river is important to us, for businesses, for community, for the whole town. But we're not just concerned for our own sake. We're very aware that if we don't do something soon, the future of the river, it will die ultimately. And as a town, I can collectively say that we've had enough and we're looking for action now.
Last week, Olympic medalist and Henley Regatta chairman Sir Steve Redgrave threw his weight behind campaigns for cleaner rivers, saying the Thames needed nurturing for future generations. Local businesses agree. For Jonathan Hobbs, who runs the largest boat rental company on the Thames, a healthy waterway is vital.
We rely on the river being clean and healthy for our business to thrive. You know, we have 52 licensed hire craft that, people, come and enjoy the river and expect it to be clean and healthy. And the worry is that with no controls over the discharging of sewage by Thames Water, it's leading to the river becoming, really unhealthy.
Thames Water is set to upgrade the sewage treatment works at Henley by 2025, but many here feel it's not enough. The town is now trying to secure bathing water designation, which means the water quality would be monitored by the Environment Agency. But upriver at Wolvercote Mill Stream in Oxford, which achieved bathing status last year, water quality is still a problem.
This is such a wonderful place. It's a place that families come and they sit, they have picnics, they come in this glorious weather, and then they read a sign when they walk from the car park saying, we advise against swimming. And that's just so sad, isn't it?
Thames Water told us throughout the period monitored by the Environment Agency last summer, our local sewage works were fully compliant and did not need to discharge untreated sewage at any stage. 85% of our rivers are not in a good ecological state, and a parliamentary report has revealed the government isn't on track to meet its own goal of getting them into a good condition within the next 4 years. Polluted rivers are bad for leisure and bad for business. But for wildlife and biodiversity, they can be a death sentence. Charlotte Britt-Edney, ITV News, Henley.
Meanwhile, Southern Water, covering parts of Hampshire, is proposing to charge customers an extra £279 a year on their bills by 2030. That's according to documents from a focus group. Under the plans, which account for inflation, each household would have to pay, on average, 73% more by 2030 compared with today. Southern Water told the group the money would be used to meet targets of reducing sewage spills. Its chief executive says the company is working with customers to find the right balance between improving services and rising bills.
A bus service which connects Kidlington and Summertown with Oxford's hospitals and park and ride sites has been saved. The 700 route, which serves various hospitals, including the John Radcliffe and Churchill Hospital, was set to be withdrawn as it wasn't commercially viable. However, Oxfordshire County Council stepped in with financial support to allow Oxford Bus Company to operate the service until next August.
A social enterprise in Oxford is running cookery demonstrations using surplus food to help people cook and eat more sustainably. The Cherwell Collective redistributes surplus food by running a larder where people can buy it at discounted prices and a cafe where the food is cooked and sold as meals. But some food in the larder has proved unpopular and the cookery lessons are hope to combat that.
People will sometimes not take food or return food to us because they don't know what to do with it. And so it's part of sharing skills and knowledge that I have with the rest of the community to try to help them eat better for the planet and a bit healthier for themselves.
I've never had hummus before, and that was my introduction, and it was lovely. So definitely going for that in future.
Carrot salad. I haven't done that one before, but like that, but I'll definitely give it a go.
Drivers are being warned of delays on the A303 tomorrow because of the summer solstice overnight. Thousands are expected to head to Stonehenge. A 40-mile-an-hour speed limit will be in place on parts of the A303. National Highways is advising motorists to plan their journeys.
The longest day, that's come quickly, hasn't it?
I read that and I was thinking, how are we there already?
I know, that's really depressing. Anyway, let's not be sad. On the 22nd of June 1948, the Empire Windrush arrived in the UK with around 500 passengers who had travelled from the Caribbean to work and settle over here. The ship became a symbol for the wider migration in the decades that followed.
75 years on, a special exhibition has opened at Reading Museum looking back at that journey and those who made their home in Berkshire. It's hoped the project will give the Windrush generation a chance to share their stories. With more, here's Juliette Fletcher.
Learning about the past and celebrating lives. That's what the exhibition at Reading Museum is all about. Each artefact from the Windrush generation on display tells a personal story.
So this is the boarding pass that myself and my brother Ivor and Ronald came over on, the 7th of September 1967. This is the first exercise book that I was given when I attended Newtown Primary School in Reading. This is an early picture of me at Newtown Primary School.
This is just one of the events to mark the 75th anniversary of the arrival of the Empire Windrush, which brought workers from the Caribbean to England. It's a moment in history that's shaped the story of our communities.
You know, my parents came over in the 50s, in the late 50s, and it's so important to show the work that they've done, who the people they were, and how much they've contributed. So it's absolutely fantastic. It makes us feel proud of who we are and where we're coming from.
The displays include travel documents, passports and suitcases, and even a special outfit worn by a new arrival.
Well, my auntie, my mother's sister, went to America and she brought the dress back for me in about 1966, I think. And it was probably the only warm thing I brought with me when I came to England, because everything else was summery. Unfortunately, we came in the summer.
The Reading Windrush project received funding from the Heritage Lottery Fund and the Council. Today was an official launch, and this exhibition to honour the Windrush pioneers will remain here until October. Juliette Fletcher, ITV News, Reading.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go and see that. And just a reminder, we'll have more coverage on the Windrush anniversary later on this week.
Now you're watching ITV News Meridian in the Thames Valley. Still to come, we're at one of this year's biggest sporting events.
I'm here in Berlin with Team GB and all the latest on the Special Olympics.
And another sporting spectacle with high stakes and high fashion. We're ready for Royal Ascot.
All that still to come. For more from us, of course, you can go to our website. The address, as ever, on the screen. There it is, itv.com/Meridian. If you have a story idea that you think we ought to be covering, just give us a ring. The number 0808 1010 095. And you can find us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
Now, to many people, it's simply seaweed, but sugar kelp being grown as an experiment in the Solent could provide huge huge benefits for the environment and even make money for a commercial farming business.
Researchers, including a team from the University of Portsmouth, believe the kelp will improve the water quality in Langstone Harbour, which could have huge implications for our coastal waters, as Richard Slee reports.
This is the good seaweed that we want to keep, and this is the bad seaweed that we want to get rid of.
Professor Gordon Watson is checking his latest crop of sugar kelp. This plant is widely farmed abroad and is commonly added to food and cosmetics because of its thickening and gelling qualities. It's usually grown offshore because it needs a lot of space. But here in Langstone Harbour, researchers are keen to find out if it will grow well in more sheltered waters.
Kelp is commercially important. Millions of tons are cultured around the world, but there's also a big problem in terms of nutrient concentrations in coastal waters. So if we can grow something that's commercially valuable, but at the same time improve water quality, then that's a double bonus.
Sugar kelp improves the water quality by soaking up unwanted nutrients or pollution in the water caused by fertilisers, wastewater and sewage discharges. These nutrients are what cause excessive growth of green algae and that unwanted seaweed, responsible for ecological damage and even some human health issues.
This project is now near the end, and the researchers hope that the results, which are due soon, will provide some evidence of the environmental and commercial benefits of growing this kelp in coastal waters.
And if the results are good, then not only do we have the prospect of cleaner water, but also potentially new jobs in a new industry. Richard Slee, ITV News, Langstone Harbour.
Now, the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international stories at 6:30. With the details for us tonight, here's Mary Nightingale.
Coming up on the programme, the Prime Minister's under pressure to say whether he thinks Boris Johnson should be punished for lying to Parliament. MPs are tonight debating the damning report that found the former MP misled the Commons over Partygate. But will Rishi Sunak be there to vote or not? Also tonight, a new high for 2-year fixed-rate mortgages as fears grow over another potential interest rate rise. And why some pints in the pub are becoming weaker. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Mary, thank you. Sarah's with us now for the sport, and all change for the Cherries.
That's right, yes, thank you, Sangeeta. Yes, first tonight, a close season casualty at one of our football teams because Gary O'Neill has parted company with AFC Bournemouth, and the Cherries have already appointed this man, Andoni Iraola, as their new head coach. He joins from Rayo Vallecano, where his 3-year spell ended with an 11th place finish in La Liga. Well, Gary O'Neill took charge of the Premier League side less than 7 months ago, initially taking over after Scott Parker was sacked last summer before being given the job on a permanent basis in November. He guided the Cherries to a 15th place finish. Club owner Bill Foley described this as a difficult decision, but says he feels change is the best way forward. Now to our coverage of the Special Olympics World Games. The event, which is taking place in Berlin this week, is the pinnacle of competitive sport for people with intellectual disabilities. There are 8 athletes from our region going for gold. We caught up with our reporter Catherine Walker from Berlin's Olympic Stadium a little earlier.
Hello from Berlin. We've been here since Friday and it's been a fantastic few days. Team GB are one of 176 delegations from around the world who've come to the city for the most inclusive sport event of the year. All the athletes are full of energy and enthusiasm, as you can see when I spent the day with them ahead of the opening ceremony.
They may be separated by their kits, but their smiles are universal. Berlin is brimming with energy as the city hosts the biggest sporting event in the world this year.
Feeling so excited. It's so amazing just to be in Berlin right now.
I'm representing Great Britain. It's amazing feeling to witness.
It's so much fun. No words can explain how I'm feeling right now. It's amazing.
Around 7,000 athletes are taking part in the Games this week, including equestrian Philip from Aylesbury.
It's a dream come true. I've been looking forward to doing this for like so many years. It's absolutely brilliant, quite phenomenal. I'm pretty sure we're going to get gold.
Let's go GB, let's go!
For everyone in Team Special Olympics GB, it's the trip of a lifetime. And their coaches have seen firsthand how hard they've been training.
It's amazing to see them ready in their peak fitness, ready to kind of compete. And what's been lovely as well is just seeing them mingling with athletes from all around the world with all a common goal to kind of come together and to celebrate inclusion in sport.
And those celebrations kicked off on Saturday. Everyone was cheering as the bus picked them up for the opening ceremony. Hockey player Rob was given the honour of being a water bearer, using a teapot filled up from a pond at Buckingham Palace. It's a moment he'll never forget.
Well, I've always dreamed to be in the Olympics since a young age, like since the age of 8, since the London 2012 Olympic Games.
Oh, I'm going to fess up now, I cried. It was seeing him and walking up with him to be the water bearer was absolutely incredible. So yeah, I'm really, really proud of him.
With the opening ceremony coming to a close with a bang, the Games have officially started. And everyone here in Berlin can't wait to get going. Well, with the opening ceremony out of the way, now it's the athletes' turn to put on a show. And that all starts with a process called divisioning. Well, I'm joined now by Head of Delegation for Team GB, Stephen Walker. Stephen, talk us through that divisioning process.
Yeah, divisioning gives the athletes an opportunity to be assessed for what they can do in terms of ability. So the officials which are here will then categorise them down after that division has been undertaken.
So divisioning is unique to the Special Olympics. Why do we need it?
Why do we need it? Because we've got such a range of disabilities within the teams. So it gives a fair opportunity for everybody to succeed within their sport.
And finally, just tell me in a few words, how is your Special Olympics going so far?
Great. I mean, so very tiring, but it's been a very worthwhile experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen. Well, as you can see, the atmosphere here in the camp is fantastic. I'll be here all week, keeping you up to date with Team GB and their progress through the Games right here from Berlin.
Oh, brilliant, Catherine Walker reporting there from that quite spectacular opening ceremony. Right, back to football now, and Brighton have announced the signing of attacker Pauline Bremer. The 27-year-old has played for clubs across Europe, including Wolfsburg and Manchester City, and has achieved many accolades, including 2 Women's Champions League titles. Sussex's Bryony Pittman is among 6 GB female archers who hold world ranking top spots. Today's newly confirmed rankings put Pittman second in the women's recurve, just behind teammate Penny Healy.
Now, the crown jewel of the summer sporting calendar, Royal Ascot, gets underway tomorrow with more than 300,000 racegoers expected over the next 5 days.
Well, the racecourse is one of the most famous in the world, but few are aware of its illustrious past. Of course, a lot's changed since its inception in the 18th century, from rules and distances to prize money and dress code. Mel Blore takes a look back at the event's fascinating 300-year history.
And they're off. A quintessentially British sporting tradition that's been going for more than 300 years. And the crowds have continued to flock in. But how did it all begin?
It's no coincidence the racecourse is located near Windsor Castle, as it was Queen Anne who put the idea into motion to pursue her love of horse racing. When out riding in 1711, she stumbled upon an area of open heath, which in her words looked like an ideal place for horses to gallop at full stretch. Soon after, Royal Ascot was founded and the first race took place in August that year.
A lot would change at the world-famous racecourse over the following centuries. The horses back then were not the thoroughbreds we see today, but rather any mare or gelding over the age of 6. And there were no rules about who could ride a horse. An 11-year-old boy who had never raced before is said to have taken part in the 1840 Wokingham Stakes.
A huge amount has changed. Things weren't quite as formalised back then. In the modern era, it's just become the biggest flat meeting in the world in terms of the sustained quality of action on the track. There is broadly a race for every horse at the highest quality. There's Group 1 mile races for colts and fillies at 3. There is a 10 furlong Group 1 for older horses. The Gold Cup is open, which is 2.5 miles, is open to older horses. And there's an array of sprints for various ages, and then a whole 2-year-old programme across a whole array of distances.
One of the highlights of the events is the royal procession, started by King George IV in 1911. And a familiar sight whenever you see the monarch is the famous greencoats. Formerly known as yeoman prickers because of the pikes they carried, their job was to move racegoers off the course. They still attend to guests, but in a much more friendly manner.
Well, yes, we don't go and actually try and manhandle anybody, and I think we get sued very quickly if we try to do that. No, it is very much a case of being an ambassador for the racecourse, to actually be there to help, to direct, to get people just to enjoy themselves.
This week there'll be more than 6,000 people working at Royal Ascot, but in the run-up, staff have been working flat out to prepare the ground. Today it's seen as almost sacred turf, but incredibly, even as late as 1920, a large flock of sheep was grazing on the course between meetings. 20 years ago, the racecourse had a major facelift, £200 million spent on a new stand. Still the single largest investment in horse racing history. Despite the many transformations, there are some traditions that have stuck with Royal Ascot, including its strict dress code.
Rain or no rain, it's still one of the year's major fashion events.
It's a very fantastic and fine show of all things Britain. We're so lucky to have lots and lots of international racegoers that visit during the royal meeting. And I think everybody is blown away, not only from outside, but everyone that comes, at just how people use this as their chance to express themselves. So whether it's the fantastic millinery, fantastic shoes, and everybody really is out to have a fantastic time and to look their best.
With a history as rich as it's long, this spectacle of pomp, pageantry, royalty and racing is tipped to remain one of the highlights of the British summer. Mel Blaw, ITV News, Ascot.
And of course, racing starts tomorrow, and Matt's heading there. So
yes,
got a top hat.
I have, yeah. Picked up the suit this morning. Top hat, tails.
Yeah.
Well, I say I have. I haven't actually opened the zipper yet. It could be a gorilla outfit. I've got no idea. Whatever's in that case, I am wearing tomorrow anyway.
Oh, I'm so excited because you haven't been as dressed as that since your wedding day.
No, I haven't. And I wasn't that dressed up then. One thing I'm slightly worried about, though, is the weather for tomorrow. Pip joins us in the studio. Are we going to get thunderstorms, or could we be okay?
We might do. Yeah, it's looking a little bit dicey for the first couple of days of the race meet. Let's take a look at the forecast. Let's zoom down to Ascot Racecourse, and what we'll see is that for Tuesday and Wednesday we do have a risk of showers. Some of them potentially tomorrow could be a little on the thundery side, but you can see as the days go by the shower risk diminishes, and with more in the way of sunshine available, the temperatures will slowly rise. In fact, Saturday, the last day of it, we could see highs around 28 degrees. So umbrellas and top hats tomorrow.
Okay, so fingers crossed for tomorrow. But generally, we are 3 weeks into the summer, dry conditions in the main, causing problems for some.
Yeah, that's right. It's currently June so far. It's hotter than we'd expect and drier than we'd expect. So we need to spare a thought for our garden birds. We're well versed with looking after them in the colder months, but they need our help at this time of year as well. The RSPB is always a font of knowledge in this sort of thing. Some common sense tips we can all do with. So if you've got bird baths, doesn't need to be anything fancy. The really key thing is keeping them full of fresh water because that avoids any nasties. Of course, the birds love to drink and bathe their feathers. Food, the key is little and often. We know our food degrades quickly in the heat, and it's the same with bird food. We're all mindful of our water usage at the moment, I know, but if you can water just a little patch of soil in your garden, of course, little beaks find it really tough getting through the dry, hard ground at the moment, and that just eases things a bit. And we all love a bit of shade in the summer, don't we? And our garden birds are no different.
So, Pip, what is the outlook for the rest of the month? Is it going to continue like this?
Yeah, I think so. So, as I said, showers for the next couple of days and then drier into the weekend. And the trend is that for the rest of June and perhaps into July, that trend will remain, that it's going to be a bit drier than usual and a little bit warmer than usual as well.
OK, let's get all the details. Now, here is Pip with your full forecast.
feels like home, whatever the weather. Valent Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
So June has been very dry for most of us so far. We do have some showers in the forecast for the next couple of days. Again, they could be heavy and perhaps thundery, but from midweek onwards, a return to those dry conditions and pretty warm and humid throughout as well. So low pressure remains close by for the next couple of days, maintaining that risk of showers throughout. But from midweek onwards, we will start to see high pressure making its presence felt from the south and west, and that will settle things down, I think, from Thursday onwards in particular. Out there at the moment, currently fairly quiet, dry and clear to start tonight, but as we head towards midnight, we'll see thickening cloud drifting up from the south and west, and that will eventually bring some outbreaks of rain. Now, the heaviest of that should stay just to the west of us, but just about anywhere we could pick up a heavy and potentially thundery burst. And you can see for all of us, another fairly humid night, temperatures comfortably in the mid-teens for most. Tomorrow morning then, quite a cloudy start, outbreaks of rain from the word go, and the risk still of some heavy bursts in there. And whilst that will quickly clear northeastwards, we will then see further showers breaking out, and some of those again could bring the odd rumble of thunder. But they should be fairly few and far between tomorrow afternoon. For most of us, a good deal of dry and fine weather, and in the best of the sunshine, another warm day, highs inland up to 24, perhaps locally 25 degrees Celsius. These are the times of high water for tomorrow, then just the one there for Poole at 10:35 in the evening. So how's it looking for the next few days? Well, those showers continue on and off through to the middle part of the week. I think from Thursday onwards, that risk really diminishing. A good deal of dry weather takes us into the weekend. And look at those temperatures gradually rising as the days go by. There is a potential we could touch 30 Celsius during the latter part of the weekend.
Valent sponsors ITV Meridian Weather.
Hello, summer. Piri sponsors ITV Pollen Count.
And of course, if you're a hay fever sufferer, you don't need me to tell you we are very much in the midst of grass pollen season. It's currently peaking, and levels over the next few days will be high or very high. Do take very good care. Bye-bye.
And that's it from us. In just a moment here, it's the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Derek Johnson is back with our late bulletin this evening, just after 10:30. But for now, that is it from us. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.